What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining me in this video. This is going to be a review for Marvel's The Eternals. Now, some of you may remember the video I did where I critiqued the casting choices by Disney and Marvel for Gilgamesh, one of the 10 primary Eternal characters that are featured in the movie. For those of you who didn't see it, TLDR, they hired a Korean actor to play him. I'm not gonna go into that because I already said my piece on that, and now the point of this video is to review the movie, let you know if they did actually handle Gilgamesh well in the movie itself, and then after that I'm gonna go really deep into the review, and that's where the spoilers are gonna come. So if you have not seen it yet, I recommend cutting it off at that point, because I'm going to spoil as much as I can to make my point come across. Now, when I watched this, it had already been in theaters for like a month, maybe about give or take a month. As of me recording this, it's still in theaters, but I imagine any day now they're gonna throw it onto Disney Plus. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Dan, what the heck? I thought you were against this movie, but you paid to go watch it in theaters? Listen, I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and watch it in its full capacity on a big screen. And because I don't have any rich friends that have their own personal movie theaters, I had to watch it in the public movie theater like a normal human being. Now, I'm not saying I did the following thing. Let's just say, okay, like they're talking about the multiverse, right? And different dimensions and universes in the MCU right now. Let's just say like another version of me in a different timeline may have purchased a ticket for a different movie, perhaps this movie, and then simply just walked into the Eternals. So that version of me didn't actually give their hard-earned money to this film. I'm not saying I did that. I'm saying it's possible that another version of me in the multiverse did that. Anyway, so like I said, I'm gonna give a very brief review of the film. For those of you who are hardcore MCU fans, this movie might be a vital watch if you want to continue seeing how the story progresses, and that means you're also watching the shows, and you watch all the newer movies. You watch Black Widow, you watched Shang-Chi, you watched Venom 2, and I gotta say, this movie just continues the disappointing pattern of the movies becoming less and less impactful to me, less and less impressive to me. The Eternals definitely has the spectacle down. I mean, it's Disney, it's Marvel. You know by now, they kill it with the special effects. They kill it with the visual aspect of it, right? But up till now, it's been more than that. Their storytelling has been amazing, right? In the entire Infinity Gauntlet arc. But this movie lacked all of the charisma and all of the personality that made the other movies great. The last time they introduced a movie like this, where there was a group of people, and it was like a group of people that were not very popular to the mainstream. It was Guardians of the Galaxy. And people were like reluctant to accept that that movie was gonna do well, because they're like, what is this? There's 5 new characters. One of them's a tree, one of them's a raccoon. There's no way you're gonna be able to tell a full story for these 5 characters and make it work well. And to all our surprises, they did it. So then the Eternals came along and they were like, hey, I know we made it work with 5 obscure characters. What if we made it work with 10 obscure characters? And people were like, why? And they're like, because diversity. And that's literally all this movie was. It was just like a reason to introduce diverse characters with no substance. Zero substance. Because there are 10 characters, like none of them really get enough time to shine. You don't really get to know a lot of them. And for the most part, it's like they don't even care that they're there. I'd say like the 2 primary characters, if you had to choose like 2 that were the main characters. One would be Circe, played by Gemma Chan, and the other one was Icarus, played by Richard Madden, who, if you watch Game of Thrones, is Robert Stark, or was Robert Stark. Rest in peace, bud. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones by now, then I don't know what to tell you. Don't get attached to any of the characters, but we're not talking about Game of Thrones. But are we? Because also in this movie is Kit Harington, who played Jon Snow. So, I don't know. Richard Madden was all right, as far as how well he played his character. Nothing special. But Circe, oh my, if I had to pick one main character, it was probably Circe. She was freaking sleepwalking through this whole movie. It's like she did not, it's like, did someone let her know that this was not like some straight to TV film? This was a Marvel MCU film? She's just like, oh my God. Oh no, Icarus, no. No emotion, like zero emotion the whole time. So ridiculous. Not good at all. And then like her character, her power, she's like, she can change elements into other, she can just control elements and like change physical substances or surfaces or things into other physical things. Like she can turn this wooden desk into water, or she can turn this metal can into stone. Those are her powers. Yeah. And then Richard Madden, who plays Icarus. Icarus is just I'm gonna put one small spoiler into this. I was watching and I'm like, they made Icarus just kind of like a ripoff of Superman. Like he flies around, he's strong, and he can shoot beams out of his eyes. He's pretty much he's Superman with less powers and less abilities. And then I'm like, maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe he's not like Superman. They literally make a Superman joke about him in the movie. This kid is looking at him and he's like, I know you, you're Superman. And I'm like, what? Okay, see, you think just because you're acknowledging the laziness of this that it's not lazy? Anyway, and for the most part, all of the Eternals are like just really forgettable, which is sad. Some of them were pretty good. Angelina Jolie as Thena was pretty cool, and Kamal Nunjanani as Kingo. He's also really good in the movie. I think, I mean, I don't know, maybe I was just so desperate for like something that his comedic relief was actually like pretty, it held the movie together for me. Like he was the one person I enjoyed seeing on screen other than Angelina Jolie. And again, because there's 10 characters plus the villains, none of them had like a lot of time to shine. Gilgamesh in the movie, for those of you who want to know without hearing the spoilers, his character is fine. He's good. He's actually pretty funny. He's like one of the cooler ones, I think, in terms of like their abilities. That could be my bias. And that's all I'm gonna say without spoiling it. And also that they did not handle it well. They didn't handle him well. They didn't handle Mesopotamia plays a big part in the movie, and they handled that very poorly too. So everything as far as how it relates to Mesopotamia and Assyrian lore, Babylon lore, whatever you want to call it, handled very poorly, and it's very insulting. And as however bad you thought it was gonna be, I promise you it's worse. So overall, I'd give the movie itself 2 out of 10 stars. For the there were some cool action pieces, for a little bit, I guess, and the visuals were cool. Other than that, the movie was it was just bad. It was boring, unimpactful. I know people are saying that like it's a very important thing to the MCU, but like I left the movie more confused and like I was like, what like up till now, right? I left an MCU film like, like giddy. I had goosebumps and I was like, oh, that means this person's coming, and like, oh my God, that means this is gonna be next. I did not feel that at all. And that's all I'm gonna say without spoiling it. So yeah, if you have not seen the movie, you can leave now, because now I'm gonna get deeper into the review and it's gonna be all spoilers. So if you wanna wait, maybe come back and catch the latter half, not even half, this is gonna be longer than half. The second part of this video, I suggest you stop the video now, but make sure you like it first. Make sure you like it first. All right, is everybody gone that hasn't seen it? If you're still here, that means you've seen the movie or you are not planning on watching it. And honestly, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Let's get into it. So the movie itself opens up with the Eternals in their spaceship, in their stupid triangle spaceship, and they're making their way to Earth. Found out that the Deviants, which is like their arch nemesis, the reason they were created essentially. Wait, I don't even remember how they explained it. It's not in line with the comics. I mean, it's kind of in line, but it's like whatever. The Deviants are these vicious monsters, and they're attacking the humans. So the Eternals are sent to protect the humans. They land in Mesopotamia in 5000 BC. When I saw this, I was like, oh snap, they're not even wasting any time. They're just going straight into Mesopotamia. Cool. That's immediately where I started like critiquing the film. So I'll say this, the people that were there in Mesopotamia looked Middle Eastern. They looked Mesopotamian. You see Gilgamesh fight for a little bit, and he's actually a brawler, which is cool. So that's true to his lore character. And then like right after that, you see that Circe, because she can transform things, grants the Mesopotamians their advanced tech right away. She gives them like this knife. And I was like, what? So you're just like gonna completely erase the accomplishments of Mesopotamians by saying aliens gave them their tech? Whatever, it's fine. It's a movie. It is what it is. You start learning more about the movie. Keep switching back and it switches back and forth between present and like flashbacks a lot, like a lot. You find out like they only could intervene with humans if it has to do with deviants. So they can't stop wars. They can't stop the other villains that have been in the movies, including Thanos, who's mentioned directly. But I could have sworn that Thanos was a deviant or an Eternal, one of the two. Which they kind of answer at the end, like in one of the stingers, but I was like, surely he would have qualified. I don't know if they're going to address it later on, but it didn't make sense, because like, whether he's an Eternal or a deviant, it would have made sense that they would have intervened, because that's the reason they're there, right? Anyway, suspend my disbelief. Can we just continue? You find out that Icarus is in fact Icarus from Greek mythology, and later on you find out that Athena is also Athena of Greek mythology as well, the goddess of war. So like they happen to get those two right. And then anyway, they flash back to Babylon and Mesopotamia again, in front of the Ishtar gates, which you guys saw in the trailer. And they spend a pretty good amount of time there. And the more time they spend there, the more I was gritting my teeth and just shaking my head in disgust. They show the deviants attacking in front of the gates of Ishtar, and they show Gilgamesh like punching one of them in the face several times, and I wondered if that was a nod to when he punched Humbaba in the face in the story. I don't know if it was or it wasn't, but that's how I took it, and if so, cool. They never acknowledge, they never say like, oh, I'll call this one Humbaba or that's Humbaba. Like, I just connected the two things in my head. It might have been a total coincidence. And I was like, okay, maybe it's gonna be okay. And then one of the Mesopotamians starts speaking, and it's in Arabic. Okay, now you might be thinking, well, what are they supposed to do? They could speak in Aramaic or Syrian or something that sounds like that, like they would have actually been speaking, because they weren't speaking Arabic. And you might be also be thinking, oh, but how, they're not going to translate all of that for the entire movie whenever they speak Arabic. Hold up. Two things. First of all, there was like 5 lines total where the Mesopotamians were speaking and then to translate it. Like, it wasn't a lot. It would have taken them maybe an hour of work to call someone on the phone and translate the lines for them phonetically, and they could have just done it like that. And second of all, we're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the one that made up in-depth languages for all these alien races. You couldn't look up how to speak an actual language to stay true. But you know what? Nothing was true. They hired a Korean man to play Gilgamesh, so why am I surprised? So then they make their way inside the gates of Ishtar, and they're chilling and they're partying and they're drinking after they defeated the deviants. And that's when you're getting to know the Eternals a little bit more. And you see that Ajak, who's like the leader of the Eternals, played by Salma Hayek, she is the queen that they picked. She's the queen of Mesopotamia because they picked Mesopotamia as their home on Earth. So she's like the leader of Babylon. Cool. And like all of Babylon's success and all of its like impressive infrastructure and architecture and technology is all because Ajak, and it's all because of the other Eternal, whose name is Phastos, played by Brian Tyree Henry, who's like their engineer. They're the ones who gave them all their technology and all their advancements. Like, they didn't do it on their own. They were just a bunch of dummies who couldn't figure it out. But to be fair, Phastos gives like the entire world their technology. Like he designs technology for every civilization, I guess. That's what they imply. Like he's in Babylon and he invents the car, like the vehicular car. So like humans are just worth like, God. We go back to the party scene, right? And there's another Eternal whose name is Sprite. I think it's Sprite. It's the little kid one. Her power is she can like create illusions. She can also create like firework illusions, and she can just do anything visual. I guess that's her power. So she's like the storyteller, and she's like creating like these lights in the sky and fireworks, and she's the one that is telling them, the Mesopotamians, the Babylonians, the story of Epic of Gilgamesh. She makes it up. This little Eternal girl. And there was like no context. She's like, and Gilgamesh and Enkidu, they go off on their journey and they become friends. By the way, they never point to someone and say, this is Enkidu. She just like makes up a name. And it's not like Gilgamesh did anything special for the people. Like, he's just chilling there drinking and stuff. Like, it's not, I don't know why they would choose him to be the representative of this nation. Like, it doesn't make any sense. If anything, Ajax, like if he was the leader of that area and he was the king, maybe that would make sense. But Ajax was the queen. She was the leader. So, like, but... And then another thing that really pissed me off, and like I'm sure like the average person would not be bothered by this, but at some point they're doing some like primitive form of chigga, and it looks more like Greek dancing than anything else. Like they couldn't even do the research to do a proper chigga. I'm getting mad. I'm getting real mad. What really was like, what was when they were speaking Arabic, I was like, dude, like y'all really couldn't translate Aramaic? Mel Gibson translated a whole film in Aramaic with The Passion of the Christ. Y'all couldn't translate like 10 lines? 10 lines? Anyway, that's kind of how, like that's the gist of the movie as far as how it relates back to Gilgamesh and Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria, whatever you want to say. At some point, Ajax disbands them, and she's like, I'm gonna let you guys all go your separate ways to try to live normal lives, which doesn't make any sense because they're literally immortal and they don't age. So like they all split up, and then like when the deviants return, they all have to like reunite, and they find out that Gilgamesh and Thena have moved in together in like this remote home in the middle of like the Australian outback. So they go and find them, and like Gilgamesh is making alcohol and cooking and wearing aprons. They're really making him silly. At some point they put him in a full baby outfit, and it's like, okay, sure. Yeah, keep shitting on Gilgamesh. Yeah, that's nice. And then here's the big spoiler, by the way. At some point they're fighting deviants in the forest, and they straight up kill Gilgamesh. So if you were wondering if like somehow they're gonna fix him for future movies to make him more culturally correct, nah, he's dead. They killed Gilgamesh. Maybe they'll bring him back, but I doubt it. So that's it. He was there for one movie and he's gone. But right after that, or I don't know, at some point you find out that there's another character in the movie that's related back to Assyrian and Mesopotamian lore. So the big baddie in the movie is the guy that created the Eternals. I'm not even gonna try to explain it because it went over my head. It went over my head and I've been studying this shit essentially. So the guy that created all of them, he's a celestial, I think that's what they call him. And essentially his goal is to raise this thing out of the earth called Tiamat. And as Tiamat is born out of the earth, it's going to completely obliterate the earth and everybody on it. And that's like, they find out that's been their goal all along, to like help Tiamat come to fruition. Tiamat, for those of you who don't know, is actually something from Mesopotamian Assyrian mythology. I'm gonna read it for you. So this is according to mythos.fandom.com. Tiamat is a primordial Babylonian goddess of the ocean and personification of chaos. She gave birth to the first generation of gods, and later she was killed by the storm god Marduk. From her divided body came the heavens and the earth. So it kind of makes sense because the birth of this marble Tiamat was going to be responsible for, like, as it destroys the earth, it was also going to be responsible for creating more life in the universe. So it makes sense, but they make zero connection to Mesopotamia or anything. They just plucked another thing from our lore and said, we'll use this. And then they killed Tiamat too. So they took Gilgamesh and Tiamat and they killed both of them. Hey, Marvel, Disney. Is that Kevin Feige? Kevin, come here. Now, this is gonna be really special because I don't really like to cuss on this channel, but f you. And I'm gonna censor it out. Let's not get crazy. I'm obviously gonna censor it out. It's just really bad, really bad. The movie was bad. I can't even say like it was a good movie just like outside of that stuff, because the movie itself was so bad. And I went into it with a very much an open mind, because I was like, maybe they'll explain why Gilgamesh looks different, and like they just didn't. And I'm like, well, maybe the movie itself will be good and like open up the next set of things to expect in the MCU. And they sort of do. But like, man, if you've been keeping up with the shows, like, you know, if you watch Loki, there's some big going on with Loki. In Scarlet Witch, they introduce like her going nuts, and like Doctor Strange, maybe, you know, Spider-Man with Doctor Strange is gonna do some stuff with the multiverse. And now this movie introduces like the Celestial situation, and like that's already enough where I was like, whoa, this is like too much. It's too much grand universe ending, multiverse ending without focusing on any substance of any characters that the people can like. And then the stinger came, the first stinger. They introduced this thing called Pip. Yeah, it's a troll. It's like literally a troll. It's a troll. They threw a troll at the end of the movie, like an actual literal troll named Pip. And he is like the sidekick, or like the helper for a character named Star Fox. Not that Star Fox, not the N64 throwback Star Fox. This Star Fox is apparently the brother of Thanos, but he looks like a normal human because he's played by Harry Styles. I know Thanos had some kind of like mutation, and that's why he looks crazy. Are they saying he's an Eternal? Like, is Thanos an Eternal? Because he's his brother, and I'm pretty sure this guy's an Eternal. Let me look it up. Star Fox in Eternal. He's depicted as a member of a human offshoot race known as the Eternals. So Star Fox, Thanos' brother, is an Eternal. So that would mean in the MCU, Thanos is an Eternal. So you're telling me one of your own was about to destroy half the universe, and that wasn't enough for you guys to come help? What? They were hiding because they were scared of Thanos. I don't know what else to say. Like, I hate to say this. I think the MCU is dead. I'm gonna keep watching for a little longer. I'm currently watching the Hawkeye show on Disney Plus. Like I said earlier, like, they're focusing on all these crazy big things, but there's zero substance. All right, everybody, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you. I know it was a long one, but your boy had some things to say and that I need to get off my chest. And speaking of my chest, if you may have noticed, I'm rocking a Gilgamesh hoodie where he's portrayed correctly. This is the Battle Collection hoodie from Divinity Activewear in the Sandstorm variety. I thought it was appropriate because it's Gilgamesh and we're desert dwellers. Racist? Maybe. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in grabbing one. If you're watching this in December, there's a buy one, get one half off deal running all month long. And if you're not watching in December, I'm sure there's still some type of promo of some kind running at whenever you're watching this. Thank you guys again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you think if you've seen the movie. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Like, if you watched it, do you think they handled everything well? And if so, please tell me why, because maybe I just didn't, maybe I missed something. Maybe you can enlighten me. Until next time, everybody, remember to stay safe, stay positive, and most importantly, stay sexy. Yeah. Is that even my sign out these days? I don't know. Okay, bye.